Hey everybody, my name is Miles and I run a company called Brabble and we are a data consulting firm. And today I'm excited because I get to talk a little bit about an open source language that I've been playing around with called Malloy. Malloy is a language that was founded by the co-founder of Looker, Lloyd tabb. The philosophy behind it is that it makes querying simpler, safer, and reusable. Malloy mixes the semantic modeling with the query logic. So you can use both. You can use Malloy and SQL in something called Malloy SQL files. And I did something a little wacky. I put together a DBT project that transforms data between raw, staging, and a golden schema. And then I mimicked that project, but I wrote it all in Malloy. So both of these projects are on my GitHub, and I'm just going to demonstrate them today and show you what I did. All right, and here's the DBT project first. I'm just gonna do this really quickly. Basically, I created a Python script that pulls from Kaggle. It's a data set called crocodile species. It takes that information, takes that out of Kaggle, puts it into my seeds folder, which is crocodilespecies.csv. When I run DBT, it basically looks at the DBT project YAML and says that we need to grab from the seeds folder and put it into the raw schema. Then my staging schema is basically cleaning my raw information and putting it into a staging schema within my warehouse. Basically, the point of staging is that you want to clean the data, remove duplicates, null values, make sure the data is unique, the freshness of the data, that kind of thing. And then finally, my golden schema in my warehouse essentially defines the dimension and fact tables. It splits my staging tables into dimension and facts, so that it's easily cuttable, it's translatable for whatever that you're trying to do, whether it's reporting or whatnot. So basically these are incremental tables, so they load on an increment rather than a full refresh. I'll just click dbt run, and that will execute. Oh yeah. This, instead of the DBT project, is now the Malloy project. And in the Malloy project, I wanted to use this experimental language to see if I can mimic what DBT does, but with Malloy. Same concept. I wrote some Python to grab, the crocodile data set from Kaggle and then store that data set in my CSV folder. Unlike DBT, DBT has that DBT project YAML file that you can declare a seeds folder and determine where that seeds folder goes. In Malloy, you can't do that. So you have to write, this custom Python script that allows me to send my CSV file to the raw schema in my warehouse. What I can appreciate about the Malloy language or the Malloy files is that they're structured as notebooks. So they're block based. So rather than having huge SQL scripts that somebody's trying to reverse engineer and decipher, Malloy kind of makes it easier in these Malloy SQL files where you can define what you want your block to be. So in this case, I have a Malloy block, and then my other block is Malloy SQL. So in my Malloy block, I'm writing Malloy, and then in my Malloy SQL block, I'm writing SQL. So after our raw schema, we want to move that data, do some checks on that data, do some tests on that data, and move it into the staging environment, just like we did in DBT. However, in DBT, they have the tests YAML file that has default tests that you can run, whereas in Malloy, we have to do those checks manually. I've created all of those checks manually, and I take all of those checks, I join them together, and I take out all the unique IDs attributed to those that didn't meet those checks. So that's how I'm cleaning this data from moving from raw into staging. All right, so after my staging environment, I want to separate my tables into dim and facts and move them into a golden schema in my warehouse. This golden schema is basically set up to consumable downstream, so used in your semantic modeling, and then your semantic model being used in your business intelligence tools. The difference between DBT and Malloy is in DBT SQL files, you can declare at the top whether you want it incremental, whereas in Malloy, you have to declare it in your DDL. So, create, merge, insert, conflicts, that all has to be within your DDL statements. So that's the main difference between the two. But now that I've explained all parts, let's run this thing. And there you have it, folks. We have our raw schema, which consumes our CSV file. We have our staging schemas, which after the checks that we do, applies those checks to our staging schema and our staging tables. And then finally, our staging tables get converted over into dimension and facts, which then can be used downstream for semantic model development. So there we go.